Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this video, we're going to go over some of the best builds and major changes from patch 1.14, including a lot of the stance stuff. There's going to be a lot of great builds in this one. If you missed out and you're just tuning in, there were major changes in patch 1.14. As usual, we ended up with a balanced patch for both PvE and PvP, and the PvE changes are a welcome change. The biggest changes were to Rellana's cameo and all the stances in the game, because the delay for it to be active has now been reduced and you can get more damage as well, making all of the stance ashes in the game significantly better. We started here with overhead stance, which is one of those that has been increased. We're going to go over pretty much all the stances in this video, some really awesome builds for you. In a second here, we're going to jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know for this one. For equipment, we have Occult Great Katana plus 25. We have any silver buffs. We have the White Mask. We hit 51 poise. Of course, we have Millicent's Prosthesis, Shard of Alexander, Lord of Blood's Exaltation. Of course, Rellana's cameo. Big changes there. Authority tier, Faith tier. Let's jump into stats. And for stats on this one, we have 60 Vigor, 22 Mind, 26 Endurance. We have 14 Strength, 23 Dexterity. We have 15 Faith. We have 65 Arcane. We're using Golden Vow and Flame Grip Strength for our buffs. The next one up here is Unsheathe, another one with a major change because Rellana's cameo is now going to be active a lot faster. On all of these stances are greatly improved, because before you pretty much had to stand there for a while to get it active. Now there's no delay, there's more damage, and it makes these builds significantly better. Yeah, it really improves upon these. I kind of wanted that to happen because the stand stuff is pretty good to begin with, but it's not amazing or super OP, and now it can be. With Rellana's cameo having that buff, they're so much better, and I recommend trying out all of the stances. Yeah, the more I use these, the more I like them. Later in the video, we're going to cover the Sword of Night and Flame, Moonveil, some of the really good stuff. Of course, everything's timestamped, as always, for your convenience, so whenever you come back to this video, you can easily find the builds, and hopefully there's something for everybody here. There should be. These stances so much better now, and honestly, it was a change that was needed. Let's jump into equipment and stats. Alright, let's go over everything. We have the Key Nagakiba. We're using Bloodflame Blade, plus 25 preferably. Any silver buffs. Rakshasa set, we have the White Mask on. Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Shard of Alexander, Millicent's Prosthesis, Rellana's cameo, of course. And then you have Green Burst Crystal tier and Faith tier as well. Alright, let's jump into stats for this awesome build. We have 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 27 Endurance, we have 18 Strength, 75 Dexterity with Millicent's Prosthesis, we have 25 Faith with the Faith tier, and then for our buffs, we hit 51 Poise, of course. We're using Golden Vow, Flame Grip Strength, and Bloodflame Blade. And next one up here, we have Square Off, which I honestly love to begin with. This is one of the ones on the list that I really enjoyed to begin with. It makes straight swords significantly better. It does 40 poise damage, by the way, on the charge hits. It's now been increased when you hold it and use Rellana's cameo. You'll get significantly more damage. Yeah, big improvements here. Square Off was really good to begin with, though. It really was one of those Ashes of War that could take a mediocre class in straight swords and turn it good. Now, even better than before, this is one I absolutely recommend trying out. By the way, these are actually ranked in terms of how much I enjoyed them, and a little bit of power too. The later ones, of course, are going to be Sword, Night and Flame, Moonveil, and such, but I also kind of ranked them in terms of how much fun I had as well, like I do with a lot of these. So let's jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know. Alright, let's see what we have for this build. We have the Cold Broadsword with Square Off, of course. We have any silver buffs, Rakshasa set, a random Helmon, because I've been changing up my armor a little bit, Ritual Sword Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Blade of Mercy. We have Rellana's cameo, Green Burst Crystal tier, and Faith tier 2. Alright, let's jump into stats for this one. We have 60 Vigor, 19 Mind, 28 Endurance, 66 Strength. That's going to be 99 when we two-hand this. 20 Intelligence, 12 Dexterity, 25 Faith with the Faith tier. And then, of course, for our buffs, as always, we're going to be using Golden Vow and Flame Grip Strength for some more damage. And now we have Rellana's Faith build. In my last video, I did a build around the intelligence part. I'm going to leave that in the description below if you haven't checked out that video and you're more of an intelligence user. But if you like Faith, this is going to build around the fire portion of Rellana's Twin Blades. So you can get massive damage with these now that you hold them down. The fire area effect is great. I like the beams too. We're not really building around them much here. I'm just kind of using them for additional damage. The fire part, though, is going to scale entirely with Faith, and you can get massive fire damage, especially for some of the larger bosses and targets in the game. By the way, a quick shout out to NordVPN. It's the VPN I use and trust. If you need extra security, a VPN, or if you're in other countries and want to check out different things, a VPN might be for you. It could also keep your browsing safer and more private. Be sure to check out the description below for a discount. And now back to this build. I really enjoy the Faith part. I like the beams, don't get me wrong, they're okay. I feel like the Sword of Night and Flame does it better though in terms of the beam, but the fire portion on both are pretty comparable at this point now that Rellana's cameo has been buffed, and you can get a lot of damage from it with good Faith scaling, or at least the C in Faith scaling turns into a lot more on the Ash. We have Rellana's Twin Blade plus 10, the Erdtree Seal, Rakshasa Set, Random Helmon. Then we have Ritual Swords Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Fire Scorpion Charm, Rellana's cameo, of course, Flame tier, Faith tier. Let's jump into stats for this one. Well, what do you know? We're going to have a lot of Faith for this build at 70, 16 Intelligence, 16 Dexterity, 16 Strength. So the minimum requirements besides Faith, which is going to be the fire part, we have 28 Endurance, 24 Mind, 60 Vigor. We hit over 51 Poise, and then for our buffs on this one, we're using Golden Vow and Howl of Shabriri as well. Alright, the next one up here is a random one, but a highly requested one. A lot of people ask me for a build for the Clayman's Harpoon because of the good strength and intelligence scaling, especially in cold affinities, so I decided to do this with Divine Beast Frost Stomp. Now keep in mind, Divine Beast Frost Stomp is going to have dexterity and intelligence scaling. We have some intelligence investment. It will not scale with strength at all. I'm using that for the regular hits to mix in and get some good frost procs and some good damage. Ultimately, this ends up being another good build on this list, though. I really like this one, too. If you like the Clayman's Harpoon, be sure to try this one out. If you're at higher levels, you could put some more points into dexterity and intelligence to get more damage out of the Ash. This is a completely random note before we go on to more of the stance stuff, but ultimately, I'm realizing I'm having so much fun with Elden Ring again. I feel like it's the most amazing game I've ever played in my entire life. Over 2,300 hours in, and I pretty much never get bored of this game, and no matter what else I play, I end up coming back to Elden Ring. There's so many gaming companies that just need to get on the level of From Software, because whatever I end up playing, even Black Myth has been fun, but it's not Elden Ring. Let's jump into equipment. We have Clayman's Cold Harpoon plus 25 with Divine Beast Stomp. We have any seal for buffs, Divine Beast Helm, Rakshasa Set. We have the Godfrey Icon, Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm, Shattered Stone Talisman, Magic Tier, Faith Tier. Let's talk about stats for this one. And for stats on this build, we have 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 27 Endurance, 54 Strength. That's going to be over 80 when we two-hand this, 19 Dexterity, 25 Intelligence, 23 Faith. That's going to be 33 Faith with the Faith tier, so we could use Howl. And then we're going to be using Howl of Shabriri, obviously, and Golden Vow, too. Keep in mind, by the way, for this build, and a lot of the builds that are elemental, I prefer Howl, but if you're on the later journeys, Journey 4 or 5 and later, make sure you use Flame Grip Me Strength when you can in place of Howl, rather than taking that extra incoming damage that you take with Howl of Shabriri. Yeah, this is on New Game Plus with DLC Plus, but if you're on like New Game Plus 7 or something, I've been doing a lot of those builds lately too. If you want to check out my latest video, my top 20, I'll leave that in the description as well. But be sure to go for defensive buffs or Flame Grip Me Strength. You don't want to take that extra incoming damage. And of course, we have the Holy Shield build here. And what changed here? Well, medium shields now block better, especially against physical damage, and they consume less stamina. They're honestly a lot better now, so I ran a Holy Sacred Blade build with a medium shield for some defense. And Sacred Blade could do a lot of damage in the DLC. By the way, a lot of the bosses are weak to Holy damage, including these dragons. The Ghost Flame dragons take massive damage from Holy. And then, of course, we're going to be able to block too and get in some regular hits with Sacred Blade for around 700 AR on a straight sword. This is honestly a build I really like. I could see myself using this in DLC a significant amount. We've got a decent amount of defense with our armor set, mostly the Malformed Dragon set. We have the Twin Bird Kite Shield, which is going to be great for our medium shield defense. It's one of the higher guard boosts for medium shields. And then, of course, we have Sacred Blade on the Broadsword as well. Good combination build here. Let's jump into equipment and stats. Alright, and for equipment on this one, we just kind of went over it. We have the Sacred Broadsword with Sacred Blade. We have the Erdtree Seal. We have the Twin Bird Kite Shield for some good guard boost. Most of the Malformed Dragon set on, and the Black Flame Monk Gauntlets. We have Ritual Swords, Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Sacred Scorpion Charm, Godfrey Icon for our incantations, Holy Tier, and Faith Tier too. Alright, let's go over stats for this one. We have 60 Vigor, 23 Mind, 28 Endurance, 15 Strength, 15 Dexterity, 80 Faith with the Faith Tier. And then we're going to be using Golden Vow, Howl of Shabriri, and then we also have multi-layered Ring of Light and Golden Arcs too for some holy damage. Well, some more holy damage and some chargeable incantations for you. For the next one, we have Milady Cold Build, which is even better now, of course, because Wing Stance, like all stances, has been improved with the change to Rellana's cameo. And we're able to get a lot of damage with the charge attacks too. I love that. I love mixing in the really quick attacks on the light attack and then using that charge attack, which has a lot of range, and that's going to help us with some decent damage as well as building up frost quick when we're using the light attacks. And even watching footage, I absolutely love this game. I go back, I take on the base game bosses. Even just testing stuff the past couple days was so much fun. Testing out different builds, weapons, stances, everything that changed on the patch. I had a really good time with it. Let's jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know. And there's the proc. You can see the red when you go into the stance. It's almost immediate now. We have Milady in cold with wing stance, any seal for buffs. We're using the Rakshasa set, Melissa's prosthesis, Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm, Rellana's cameo, of course, Magic tier, Faith tier. Let's talk about stats for this one. Alright, so what do we have here? We got 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 25 Endurance, 12 Strength. We have 45 Dexterity. We have 33 Faith with the Faith tier, 40 Intelligence for a good split. Give us some magic damage there as well. And of course, we're using Golden Vow and Hal Shabiri, but use Flame Grant Me Strength if you're on higher journeys and you don't want to take the incoming damage. And next up on this list, of course, we have the Sword of Night and Flame, which has been improved now and is really good. Is it back to its launch days? I'm not sure if it's quite that good, but it is pretty amazing now in all honesty. It does a lot of damage. We got 8,300 damage there on this dragon with the fire part, and we're going to be using the beam as well. And there's that awesome beam for massive damage too. Both are pretty much great. Now the fire is a little bit slow like Rellana's twin blades are, but the beam is going to be where you get a lot of your damage on the Sword of Night and Flame. And now that it's boosted by Rellana's cameo and you don't have to wait as long, it's actually really good. The Sword of Night and Flame has been greatly improved. Much like Rellana's twin blades, the beam is going to scale entirely with your intelligence stat, and the fire part's going to scale with faith. As far as the physical damage on the weapon, that's dexterity and strength, but it's a straight sword. I honestly don't recommend investing too much into that. If you're at 150, invest in either the beam or the fire part, and if you're at higher levels, go high faith and intelligence. And there's the beam there to finish off this dragon. Does massive damage as usual. Very impressed with this weapon overall and the changes made. If you hold it for just a second, you'll get that boost from Rellana's cameo and even more damage out of the Sword of Night and Flame. Let's jump into equipment and stats. Alright, in equipment, we have Sword of Night and Flame plus 10, preferably any seal for buffs. We're using the Rakshasa set. You can use the Spellblade set if you're building around the beam. It's the same boost. Ritual Sword, Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm, Rellana's cameo, Magic tier, Faith tier. Let's talk about stats. And for stats on this one, we have 60 Vigor, 23 Mind, 28 Endurance, 12 Strength, 12 Dexterity, 60 Intelligence to build around the beam, 35 Faith with the Faith tier, and then for our buffs, we're going to be using Golden Vow and Hal Shabiri so we can boost the beam and the fire part. And the last one on this list, of course, is Moonveil. This was going to make the list no matter what. This weapon is incredible now. It was good before. It's even better now. On higher journeys, you're probably going to be able to use it finally. With the boost from Rellana's cameo and relatively quick as well, it made Moonveil even better. And we're going to take on these dragons, and we're going to take on a boss, go over everything you need to know, but ultimately holding it back, using the charged version specifically, can give you massive damage, a good amount of posture damage as well, but the bigger deal here is you're probably getting between 3,000 and 5,000 damage on its Ash now, which is incredible. Yeah, I'm not like the biggest Moonveil fan in the world. I mean, I don't think it's the best weapon on planet Earth because there's a lot on New Game Plus 7 that does beat it out. But with this buff, man, it is so much better. I'm going to be doing a testing soon for it on New Game Plus 7, see how that is because this is on New Game Plus. But overall, I was really impressed with the changes made to Moonveil. Yeah, Planet Earth. I mean Elden Ring. But anyways, yeah, you know me. I've been kind of critical of Moonveil on later journeys, but I think it could really stand up now to the rest of the weapons that you would use on New Game Plus 7. The buff here is awesome. Rellana's cameo works perfect with this. We took down the Draconic Tree Sentinel really fast. Jump into equipment. Moonveil plus 10, we have any seal for buffs. We have the Rakshasa set on. Of course, we have Melissa's prosthesis, Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm. Of course, we're going to be using Rellana's cameo, an amazing talisman after this patch 1.14 has done so much for that talisman. Magic tier, Faith tier. Let's jump into stats. And we have 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 25 Endurance, 12 Strength, 45 Dexterity, 40 Intelligence. We have 33 Faith with the Faith here. We hit over 51 Poise, of course, and we're going to be using Golden Vow and Hal Shabiri. I recommend using Flame Grant Me Strength for the physical portion if you're on higher journeys. Thanks for watching this one. I appreciate everybody tuning in for this Elden Ring build video. I hope you enjoyed me going over pretty much all the stances and everything great in patch 1.14 and a build for the Clayman's Harpoon as well. Be sure to sub if you're not subbed to my channel yet and you love Elden Ring. We're going to be doing more fun builds, of course, and then Bloodborne. I'm going to be doing an early beginner's guide for 2024. That's going to be coming out soon within the next week. Hopefully, I can't wait for that. I love Bloodborne. It's an amazing game. I will catch everyone in the next video.